Well, we've talked about Persona 5 Royal. We've talked about Kingdom Hearts. So I think it's time I added another franchise to this channel. And we're going with a personal favorite of mine once more. And that's the Souls franchise. And to kick it off, we're going to talk about my absolute favorite in the series so far. And that is Bloodborne. Like some of the other tips and tricks vids, this one will cover things from early to mid game, so we're not getting too late gamey into things, while doing our best to avoid as many spoilers as I possibly can. With those set up and out of the way, let's get into it. Starting off this list is what easily is one of the most important choices in the entire game. And that's what weapon you're going to be picking in the vain hopes of survival against the various horrors that want nothing more than your demise in the most painful way possible. So basically a normal Tuesday when you're online. Easy Twitter insult aside, you can start out this game with 3 different weapons. You can start with either a cane, a saw, or an axe. And each one has quite a significance in your playstyle. The cane is the weakest in terms of damage, but is also the fastest in terms of attacks. The axe is far slower, but has more of a damage output. And the saw is actually a small balance between the two, which in turn to me makes it the best beginning weapon, as it allows you to understand the feel of both power and speed at the same time. The same can also be said about the guns you choose, with each of the 2 choices having both a strength and a weakness. The Hunter's Pistol allows you for getting enemy attention much better, but it also has a worse chance of landing stun shots, while the Hunter Blunderbuss, I think that's how you say it, has far less range in comparison, but is much better at stunning the enemies that are trying to carve you to pieces. It's truly up to you what to pick in the end. I personally believe the best combo is the Saw Cleaver and Hunter's Pistol. Now we move on to one of the main things you will be doing throughout your entire journey, and that is leveling up. Now, Souls games have always had an interesting way of having you increase your levels. Instead of something like, say, Scarlet Nexus or Dot Hack, where you just beat the enemies to gain experience, Souls games have you gather up their sort of, I'm not really sure what to call them, I guess we'll just go with currency, since they're used for items as well. And then you bring them to an area like a bonfire or a maiden, or the Hunter's Dream for this game, and you would spend them to level up. However, you don't get that at the start of the game. It's usually given to you through talking to a character or going through a tutorial level. And this one unlocks, I'd say, around 30 minutes to an hour in the game. And personally, I like this concept. It lets you play the game to test out if you like it before you start putting money into builds to level them up. I've gotten a bit off track. So how do you unlock the level up system in this game? Well, in order to unlock it, you have to do one of 2 things. You either have to confront a boss and either win or lose, it's entirely up to you, or find one of the many Madman's knowledge items scattered throughout all of Yharnam. Now, for the Madman's knowledge, you can actually find one in the sewers of central Yharnam, but it requires a lot of running past enemies that will most likely kill you due to, being at level 1. If I'm being totally honest here, I'd say confronting the boss is a much better option, because there are actually 2 you can find. You can either battle the Celtic Beast, or you can fight Father Heisenberg. I know that it's not his name, but he looks like Heisenberg from Resident Evil 4, so I'm just going to call him that because there's no way in hell I can get his actual name right. I recommend going to the Cleric Beast instead of Heisenberg. Not only is he much easier to reach than Heisenberg is, but to be honest, he's also one of the easiest bosses in the game. He doesn't hit as hard as the others do, even when you're at level 1, he doesn't have as much health, and his attack patterns are fairly easy to read. So it isn't super impossible for you to beat him, even at level 1. It'll still be pretty tough, and the camera's more of a pain in the ass than he is, but it'll be much more manageable than spending what could be more than an hour trying to find a Madman's knowledge or make it to Father Heisenberg. Alrighty, now it's time to teach you how to cheese the fuck out of the first area for easy blood vials and bullets. But first, an explanation is needed. You see, in order to heal in Bloodborne, instead of using Estus flasks like you're probably accustomed to with the other Souls games, you use an item called blood vials. Now, in comparison to the Estus flasks that you normally get in Souls games, that you are able to do things like upgrade over time and refill at bonfires, blood vials can never be upgraded. You can get a certain rune to make them work a little better, but they never, ever are upgradable. And instead of refilling, you have to either buy them, find them on the ground or on some random dead person's body lying around. It doesn't really matter. It's not like they're using it, am I right? Anyways, or kill some random enemy who decided to start shit with you. The same goes for quicksilver bullets, which are used for gun ammo. Now, at the start of the game, there is a basic straight path filled to the brim with enemies that all go down in about 2 to 3 hits. That will also have shotguns, which have quicksilver bullets in them, and every shotgun enemy always drops quicksilver bullets. As long as you keep going down this path and back, you can basically farm bullets and blood vials as long as you want, while also gaining blood echoes in order to increase your level, making you stronger and the villagers far easier to kill. It becomes a fantastic farming spot, so you no longer have to spend money on blood echoes or bullets, and as I stated before, continuously contribute to leveling up your character. This also isn't just an early game farming spot either. Late game, this becomes insanely useful because, surprise surprise, blood bullet vials do start getting more expensive. Same with bullets, so coming back here is easier and much more affordable. Alright, so now it's time to talk about the second shop in the Hunter's Dream. Now, before I started this list, I had just assumed that this was in the game from the very start of it all. But upon researching for this video, the second shop was added in with one of the various updates to the game. And to be honest, it's actually pretty easy to miss even when you know it exists. It's on this really small ledge connected to the church in the Hunter's Dream that, unlike the normal shop that sells things like blood vials, bullets, and other trinkets, this shop mainly focuses on bloodstones, from the single shards to the twin shards to even bloodstone rocks, which are items that you use to bring your weapon to their maximum level. But there's a catch with this fountain. Unlike the normal one where you pay with blood echoes, this one uses the insight you obtain from Madman's knowledges and boss fights throughout the entire game. Meaning you can't really just go kill enemies in order to build up what is basically currency. You have to give up the insight that allows you to summon allies to help you with some of the many boss fights. And while some stones are pretty cheap, things like the bloodstone rocks are really pricey. Plus, you only get 1 rock per playthrough if you don't do this, 2 if you have the DLC, but that's another thing entirely. So it becomes a very much up to you thing in the end, if it's worth it to have more than 1 max level weapon. But in all honesty, I'm just some asshole who's here to give you advice, so what do I know, am I right? I wanted to end off this list with what might be one of my favorite discoveries when I was playing this game. And reaching this place early will help benefit your journey by quite a bit. This secret area can only be unlocked once you reach the Great Cathedral, but before reaching Yharnam. There's an enemy hidden behind one of the areas called a Snatcher. It's a very tall, lanky creature with a giant bag on its back. And all you gotta do is let it kill you. Weird, but let me explain. Once you let it kill you, you wake up in what's known as the Hyperion Gaol. I'm getting these names wrong, but fuck it, we're just gonna keep going. It's an underground area that you actually do visit later in the game. But coming to it early through this mechanic gets you several unlocks. The first is a pretty decent echo farming spot. Snatchers hit like fucking trucks, but they have very easy to read attack patterns. So once you know their patterns, fighting them is kind of a breeze in all honesty. Adding on to this is the giant pig walking around this area like it fucking owns the place. Smoke a little asshole, I'm glad I killed you. Sorry about that. Either way, when he dies, he drops quite a lot of echoes. So go and kill him. And second of all is the access to the Tortinus weapon, which is this powerful mace weapon that you find just lying around. And not only do I stated before it's very powerful, it also has one of the best abilities in the form of automatically gaining you bolt damage whenever you activate it. Which, by the way, makes several of the bosses way easier, especially the fight in the Forbidden Woods. Like, that fight's a joke once you get that weapon. There are other secret areas in Bloodborne, like the Nightmare Frontier and the Cathedral Ward, but this is one of the earliest and easily one of the most useful you can find in the game. It also just happens to be my favorite. That's the end of the video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my first foray into the Souls-like genre. I haven't been into Souls games as long as I have series like Persona or Kingdom Hearts, so I'm still fairly new to everything. And I hope you're willing to join me in discovering this series more and more. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor and like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 400 and we'll have a little special video for when we release. That's it. That's the end. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll see you next vid.